Ever noticed how so many speaker systems look amazing on a product page, but when you finally hook them up at home they just don't live up to the hype? I've spent a lot of time scrolling through endless listings, reading the same glossy copy that promises bigger horns and ceremetallic woofers, only to end up with a set that sounds thin or, worse, a bass that booms so hard it rattles the picture frames. The frustration is real, especially when you've set aside a decent chunk of cash expecting a home theater upgrade that actually enhances movie nights and music sessions. That's why I'm tackling the Klipsch 2.1 Ebony system today. I want to make sure you know exactly what you're getting before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of room this system is built for. Klipsch's naming convention RP600M2 and RP1200SW tells you you're looking at a bookshelf-sized satellite paired with a dedicated subwoofer. The ebony finish is sleek, matching most modern decor, but the real question is whether the acoustic design scales to the size of your listening space. If you live in a small apartment, a cramped studio, or a den under 120 square feet, this setup can actually be a sweet spot. The two bookshelf speakers provide decent imaging for movies and games without overwhelming the space, while the sub can add that low-frequency punch you usually have to rely on a deep bass equalizer. In larger living rooms, though, you might find the volume ceiling a bit limiting, especially when you try to fill a big open concept area with cinematic explosions. Who should consider this system? Think of anyone who enjoys a dedicated, wired setup but doesn't want to juggle a full 5.1 surround arrangement. If you're a movie enthusiast who occasionally streams 4K content, a gamer who wants that extra rumble for shooters, or a music lover who likes to hear the bass line on vinyl-style tracks, the Klipsch 2.1 can be a solid middle ground. The dual input terminals for bi-wiring or bi-amping are a nice touch for audiophiles who already have a separate amplifier and want to split the signal cleanly between high and low frequencies. That level of flexibility isn't common at this price point, and it means you can upgrade components over time without swapping out the whole system. On the flip side, if you're looking for a fully immersive surround experience, or you're hoping to replace a massive floor-standing tower with a single bookshelf pair, this isn't the right fit. The lack of rear or side speakers means you'll miss the directional cues that true surround sound provides. Also, for anyone who relies heavily on Bluetooth or wireless streaming, you'll be disappointed. This system is all about wired connections, so you'll need a receiver or an amp that can handle the dual inputs. If you're a minimalist who prefers plug-and-play without a dedicated AV receiver, you might want to look elsewhere. Now, let's dig into the practical strengths that actually matter once the boxes are out of the packaging. The most talked about feature is the bigger horn design on the tweeters. What that translates to in real usage is a clearer high-frequency response, which you'll notice right away when you watch dialogue-heavy movies. The voices stay intelligible, even when the soundtrack is busy with explosions or musical scores. The LTS titanium diaphragm tweeter also contributes to a crisp, airy top end without the shrillness that cheaper speakers sometimes exhibit. For music, that means acoustic guitars, violins, and even intricate synth leads stay defined. The subwoofer, the RP1200SW, utilizes the new ceremetallic woofer technology. In plain English, it delivers a tighter, more controlled bass than the older papercone models you see in budget subwoofers. When you fire up a bass-heavy track, say, a modern pop hit or a sci-fi movie score, you'll feel the thump without the boomy feeling that can make the whole room echo. The sub's placement flexibility is also a win. You can tuck it behind furniture or set it on a dedicated stand, and the built-in phase switch helps you align it with the main speakers for a smoother low-frequency roll-off. One practical weakness that shows up once you start using the system daily is the absence of a built-in crossover adjustment. The sub's internal crossover defaults to a setting designed for a typical home theater configuration, but if your bookshelf speakers are positioned very close to the wall, you might notice a slight dip in the mids where the sub and speaker outputs overlap. Tweaking that without an external DSP or a receiver with crossover controls can be a bit of a hassle. Also, the rear panel only offers standard RCA and 3.5mm inputs, no optical or HDMI. If your TV or streaming device only provides digital audio outs, you'll need an extra converter or an AV receiver in between, adding another piece to the chain. Another nuance worth mentioning is the physical size of the sub. The RP1200SW feels robust, but it's not exactly compact. In a tight living room, you might need